Hello! What's going on, guys? Muzzafuzza here, bringing you another Diablo 3 video. As you can see, we're on my level 13 wizard. He's got 37.65 DPS, 281 armor, 75 intelligence, 120 vitality. He is geared up like a boss. And today I'm going to be doing another guide, another skills guide. Today we're going to be doing the active skills guide for the wizard. And before we jump into it, I want to show you my favorite skills on the wizard in order. So let's start with This is called Electrocute. It's a signature spell that you get pretty high level. It's kind of cool. You get to shock the shit out of people, and it doesn't cost you anything, so you can just hold it and do it as long as you want. It's one of those signature spells that doesn't cost any arcane power for the wizard. And then here we've got Disintegrate, which is awesome because it's like I'm firing my lasers, and you can spin around and shoot people all the way across the way. This next one is called Arcane Orb, but I think it should be called like Galaxy or Universe or some crazy shit because it looks like you shoot just a ball of dark matter from space towards your enemy. I'll show you. Alright, here we go. Boom. See? Looks like a galaxy or a black hole. Something from space. Something spacey and cool. And I'm a space head. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fascinated with space, so I think that's one of the most badass abilities in this game for any class. And then finally, we've got Energy Twister, which is an unpredictable tornado of destruction that moves randomly throughout the battlefield, and I'll send a few of those out too. Look at those. Looks like I can only send 3 at a time. Oh, there's another one. But it's pretty cool. It's like a tornado made of energy, and it just goes randomly throughout the battlefield and hits anybody, and if it hits them, it does pretty high damage. But like I said, this is going to be an active skills guide for the wizard, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's get started. Alright, so we're going to open up the skills tab by pressing S, and get your active skills up here. We've got 4 unlocked because we are level 13. You get your 4th one at level 12. We've got the passive skills down here, which we're not going to be talking about too much today, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the active skills trees. And we've got 3 trees just like on any other class. We've got Signature, Offensive, and Utility. Those are the 3 trees for the wizard, and we're going to start right at the top with the signature spells. The first one is called Magic Missile. Hurl an arcane bolt at a single enemy. You basically get this one at level 1, and that's pretty much the only time that you're really going to use it. I mean, you could tick around with it at later levels, but I don't think it's going to be quite as useful as the other abilities in your arsenal. So, yeah, Magic Missile. Are you a wizard? Moving on to Shock Pulse. Releases a pulse of unpredictable electrical charges. This one's pretty cool. It's kind of like this one that I've got on right now, which is Electrocute. It's like a dumbed down version of Electrocute, and it's called Shock Pulse. Moving on to Spectral Blade. Mystic Blades slice enemies at close range. So this is kind of just like Electrocute that I'm using right now, except for it just does a bunch of slices of spectral blades. And it's cool. Once again, I mean, it's not. I don't think any of these signature moves are the greatest, just because they're free to cast, but they are still pretty cool. And the final one, the one that I've got on right now, is Electrocute, and this says Electrocute up to 3 enemies. So this hits multiple enemies at once in kind of a cone in front of you. It can electrocute 3 people at once and bounces between people, and it's pretty cool. But that's about it for the signature spells. So we move on to the offensive tree. The first ability that you get in the offensive tree is called Arcane Orb. This is an orb of pure energy, unleashes a huge explodes on contact. Unleashes a huge explodes on contact. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, whatever, Blizzard. I'm not going to judge for the weird descriptions, but that is definitely a mistype or some sort of grammar error. But this one's awesome. It's one of my favorite abilities. It sends a giant galaxy of doom that explodes in people's faces, and it does big AoE damage when it explodes. So you can kill lots of people at a time with this, and it can crit just like any other ability. So pretty good. Moving on to Wave of Force, costs 25 arcane power, cooldown of 15 seconds. A wave of pure energy pushes projectiles and enemies away. So it says both projectiles and enemies. So if you have, if you're up against like a boss that has like giant flaming arrows that shoot at you or something, you can actually push projectiles away with this ability. So this is a good ability to counter other people when you're doing like PvP in arenas, but it's also useful for PvE if you're trying to push enemies out of the way. So that's pretty cool. Moving on to Disintegrate, costs 25 arcane power, and you can actually hold this, so it must be like 25 arcane power per 2 or 3 seconds. A beam of pure energy pierces through all enemies. So this can hit anybody in its line of fire, and like I said, let me back up and show you how far this can shoot. Boom, you can shoot this all the way across map, and it obliterates people. This is a cool little laser move, and it's one of my favorite abilities for the wizard as of right now. The wizard has some badass spells. Moving on to the fourth one in the offensive tree, Energy Twister. Costs 35 arcane power, which is a little more than Disintegrate or any of those, but it's the same as Arcane Orb. And it says an unpredictable tornado of destruction moves randomly through the battlefield. I already showed you guys this one earlier. I'll show one more. Boom. Cool little Energy Twister. It's not like a very violent animation. I thought it would be like a little bit more badass of a twister, but it's pretty cool nonetheless, and it's the highest level offensive skill that I have right now. So let's move on. Explosive Blast. Costs 45 arcane power, a cooldown of only 1 second. Draw in energy over a short period of time and release it at once to annihilate all nearby enemies. So I'm guessing it's got like a short channel time that you pull in a bunch of energy to your character, and then it explodes, damaging all nearby enemies. And I don't know, it used to have all the different specs for exactly how much damage it would do and weapon damage, but I'm guessing this is really high damage just because of its arcane power cost. And its cooldown is only 1 second, which means you could probably do it twice in a row after you're done with the channels, but pretty high damage Explosive Blast. Moving on to Hydra, costs 40 arcane power. Summon a magical Hydra to attack enemies with bolts of fire. If you guys don't know what a Hydra is, it's a badass three-headed, I wouldn't call it a dragon, but it's like a three-headed beast. Pretty fucking awesome. And I'm really stoked about that because even the wizards get something to summon, which is gonna be sweet. Moving on to Ray of Frost, costs 20 arcane power. A beam of pure cold freezes enemies. So this is basically just like Disintegrate, where it's a beam of pure energy. This is a beam of pure cold, and it freezes people. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to that at level 21. Moving on to Arcane Torrent. Costs 20 arcane power. Arcane projectiles bombard a location. I'm guessing this is an AoE attack that you probably choose a little location to bombard with arcane energy, and it calls down basically arcane meteors to rain down on that area for a few seconds, doing a bunch of damage to anybody in the area. Moving on to Blizzard. Costs 45 arcane power. Call down a torrent of cold to damage and slow enemies in an area. Once again, this is an AoE or area of effect ability, where it's probably a little bit bigger area because it's a huge ass blizzard and has a torrent of cold calling down to damage and slow enemies in an area. So because it slows people down, it's probably pretty good for PvP as well. Moving on to the final one in offensive, Meteor. Costs 60 arcane power, so more than half of your arcane power. Summons an immense meteor. There's another spelling mistype there. That's awesome. It says Mediot, art that, or something like that. Anyways, I'm guessing it says summon an intense meteor that after a short delay scorches an area for heavy damage. So it says short delay, probably costs a few seconds to channel it in, but this is probably your highest damage ability as a wizard, and it's a giant fucking meteor. What more could you ask for? That's awesome. Moving on to the utility tree, which is the third and final tree for the wizard. The first utility spell is called Frost Nova. It's got a 12-second cooldown, and it says an explosion of ice freezes all nearby enemies. Really going to be useful for PvP to get people off of you, to kite people around and freeze them in place. But as far as PvE goes, I don't really use it because I don't need to freeze enemies in place because I can just take all the damage that they're dishing out in normal mode. But in Nightmare, Hell, and Inferno modes, it might be useful as well. So there's Frost Nova. Moving on to Ice Armor, costs 25 arcane power. Protect yourself with a barrier of ice, good for immobilizing attackers. Armor spell, only one armor spell can be active at a time, and you have a few other armor spells for the wizard as well. So that's Ice Armor. If people hit you, it immobilizes and freezes them and slows them down and such. Moving on to Magic Weapon, costs 25 arcane power. Imbue your weapon with magical energy, increasing your weapon's effectiveness. So if you want to do just regular old auto attacks, you can give yourself a little buff on your weapon to do more damage and some bonus magic damage. Moving on to Diamond Skin, cooldown of 15 seconds, transforms your skin to diamond, temporarily preventing all damage. So basically Diamond Skin is going to be really useful, only a 15-second cooldown, and it prevents all damage temporarily. So you can get some clutch situations going where you're just about to die, you pop on Diamond Skin, you drink a health pot, and then you're back in the game and you didn't die. So that's going to be really useful. Moving on to Storm Armor, costs 25 arcane power. Surround yourself with magical storm that shocks attackers with lightning, good for damaging enemies, and it's an armor spell, so you can't have it on at the same time as Ice Armor. This one's good because it basically gives you bonus thorns, and thorns damage in this game is anytime people hit you, it deals damage back to them. So it's basically like a storm thorns. Moving on to mirror image, 15-second cooldown, illusionary duplicates distract enemies from attacking you. Now I don't know if this will be multiple duplicates or just one, but it basically makes a copy of yourself that's not actually you to distract enemies and take some damage for you. So that's awesome. Moving on to slow time. Oh my god, I didn't even know they had this. This is badass. 20-second cooldown, fracture time and space, slowing enemies while you continue to move unhindered. So you basically slow down time for a few seconds. That's going to be fucking awesome. You can use this to avoid projectiles that are coming flying at you. You can use it to pull off some clutch situations in combination with diamond skin. This is going to be one that I'm going to be using a lot. I can't wait to slow down time. That is badass. Moving on to teleport. Costs 15 arcane power, a 16-second cooldown, teleport instantly to another location. This is a cool little blink. You're going to be able to teleport all over the map every 16 seconds for only 15 arcane power, which isn't too much. And this is a nice way that you can teleport out of bad situations or into good situations. I guess if you want to teleport in the middle of a clusterfuck and cast like Frost Nova or some other AoE ability, that's pretty cool. I can't wait for teleport either. This is looking to be some goddamn cool skills for the wizard. Anyways, moving on to energy armor. Costs 25 arcane power, increases your armor but lowers your maximum arcane power. Good for increasing your defenses. So if you're under geared and you're trying to do some higher difficulty stuff with your team, but you keep taking too much damage and dying because wizards are pretty fragile as a class, this is one that gives you more armor but lowers your arcane power, so you're not going to do as much damage. So just a good pump up defense, but I'm probably not going to use it. Moving on to familiar. Costs 20 arcane power, summons a mystical companion. Your familiar is immune to damage and will assist you in combat. So this is a second summon that you get as a wizard. You've got your Hydra, and then level 24 you get your familiar, which will help you out, and it's immune to damage and it assists you in combat. So it doesn't even take any damage. It'll stay out for as long as you want it to be out. Moving on to the last utility ability for the wizard. Costs 25 arcane power. It's called Archon. I don't know if that's Archon or Archon, but I'm just going to go with it. 120-second cooldown, so a 2-minute cooldown, but it says transform into a being of pure energy for 15 seconds. While in Archon form, you will gain a new set of powerful abilities. Now, I don't know what the powerful abilities are, but I can't fucking wait for this. It's unlocked at level 29. You're pure energy form for 15 seconds, and you get new abilities to cast. So this is going to be like badass beast mode, berserker mode for the wizard. I'm really excited about it, but you guys, that is the end of the active skills guide for the wizard. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like. If you guys want to hit up any of my links, they're down below in the description. I've got a live